From the very beginning of the Bible, we hear God's call to the first lost couple, "Where are you?" Genesis 3 verse 9. In the Gospel of Luke, in the well-known 15th chapter, Jesus confirmed God's desire to find the lost. There we read about 4 possible types that represent lost people. A sheep who knew it was lost but did not know the way back. A lost coin that, on the contrary, had no idea about its lost state. A prodigal son who wanted to be lost. And his older brother who was convinced he was not lost, but who in reality also was. The Office of Archives, Statistics and Research does not only keep historical and statistical records, but it also undertakes human subject research. It looks at key trends and investigates reasons for the current state of the Adventist Church. Alongside many research projects over the last 12 years, it has undertaken 2 member retention studies. One was predominantly quantitative, while another was qualitative research, that is, interviews with former members were conducted by the Center for Creative Ministry. Both studies aimed to find out why church members who started so strong in their relationships with God and the church then stopped attending the church and left it. What story have the findings unfolded? First, these studies showed that there is no specific type of person who leaves the Adventist church. Among former or inactive members were men and women, young and old, married and single, new converts and long-time members, people both quickly prepared and thoroughly prepared for baptism. Interestingly enough, in one of these studies, almost half, 51%, were members for 5 or more years before leaving. Second, for many former members, the process of leaving the church was gradual. In this chart, you see that while for 38%, the reason for leaving the church was a specific event, and while 11% of members were disfellowshipped, for half, 51%, it was a gradual process. Of this half, 28% knew they were gradually moving away, but almost a quarter, 24%, said they did not notice it. Where were their friends and other supportive church members during the gradual departure of these people? Third, the research findings debunked the stereotype that people leave the church because of doctrinal disagreement. In response to the question of what event triggered their decision to leave the Adventist church, not many said the reason was doctrinal. Here we see the triggers in priority order. The blue color in the column stands for primary triggers, the orange stands for secondary reasons, and the gray identifies tertiary triggers. Weighing the primary reasons more heavily, the top 6 triggers for members' decision to leave the church are perceived hypocrisy in other church members, marital difficulties, lack of friends in the church, family conflicts other than within marriages, a high level of conflict in the local church, and personal conflict with local church members. In the young people's subsample, the same top 6 reasons came up, although the priority order was slightly different. The first 3 for young people were lack of friends in the church, perceived hypocrisy in other church members, and family conflicts other than within marriages. Of course, friends are important for young people, and many of the young respondents were single, so marital difficulties were not among the top 3 reasons. The top 6 for them: lack of friends in the church, perceived hypocrisy in other church members, family conflicts other than within marriages, marital conflict, high level of conflict in the local church, and personal conflict with local church members. Thus, we see that the most significant reasons for leaving the church were perceived hypocrisy, lack of friends, and different conflicts inside and outside the church. A fourth finding: about 3 out of 4 in the qualitative study reported at least one stressful life event had occurred in the year before they decided to stop attending the Adventist church. and the majority reported more than one such event. Thus, these findings show that behind former members' decisions to leave the church were a number of reasons, and there were twofold dynamics: a stressful event that destabilized the life of a person, conflict at home or in the church, or disappointment with church members whose life fell short of expectations, and then a failure of the congregation to respond with understanding and care for the stress and to the needs of those who were hurt or suffering or disappointed or just gradually drifting away. But the good news is, and this is the fifth point, that many former members were open to reconnecting with the church. This chart shows that more than half of the survey said it would be likely or somewhat likely that they would be open to reconnecting, with an additional 17% who said it would depend on the circumstances. The results skyrocket to 81%. You can discover more research findings on former and current members and pastors and leaders of the Adventist Church on the Adventist Research website. But the question today that every one of us should answer is, am I my brother's or sister's keeper? Am I their support in times of trouble?